If you're stuck in an endless loop of doom scrolling, lack of motivation, eating unhealthy, overeating at night, and not following through on what you say you're going to do, this video is for you. Look, the more you do something, the easier it becomes to do it again. And that can work for you, or it can work completely against you, as it is right now. If you keep feeding yourself junk every night, skipping your walks, skipping your cardio, skipping your workouts, avoiding responsibilities, and telling yourself, I'll start tomorrow, it becomes much easier to repeat that same pattern each and every single day. But if you eat one solid meal today, if you cook one healthy meal today, go on one walk, clean up one small part of your routine today, and actually follow through on one promise that you made to yourself, it becomes easier and easier to do it again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. That is the law of momentum, right? Momentum does not care whether the habit is a good one or a bad one. It just makes the habit easier to repeat over time. A lot of people think that people are just born disciplined. People are just born locked in, right? Something that you either have or you do not have. Like some people just wake up out of the womb and they're just like this hyper disciplined person who gets all their tasks done. I don't believe that. Matter of fact, it is simply not true. Discipline is a skill that you can learn. Discipline is a skill that I had to learn. Self-control is a skill that you have to learn. Delayed gratification, most importantly, is a skill. And just like building muscle, you build these skills through repetitions by doing them over and over again. You're not become disciplined by watching motivational videos all night long. You're not become disciplined by telling yourself you're going to change your entire life on Monday. You're going to go on 14 runs this week, and then you're going to lift every single day this week, and you're going to eat 1,200 calories every single day this week. That's not how you build discipline. You become disciplined by telling yourself you're going to do something small and then actually following through on that. That's where it begins. Back when I was 320 pounds, I did not magically wake up one day as this perfectly disciplined person one day. I was overweight, insecure, depressed, and I had years and years, basically an entire lifetime of bad habits built up. I was not someone who trusted myself. I was someone who said I was going to change multiple times and then fall right back into the same patterns. So when I say discipline is built, I mean that because I had to build it from basically nothing. Losing 130 pounds was not just one giant decision that I made. It was a bunch of tiny decisions repeated over and over and over and over again. Choosing to go for one walk, choosing to go to the gym that day, choosing to eat and cook a healthy meal that day, and choosing, most importantly, to get back on track after having a bad day, because having bad days are inevitable, right? What separates a successful person from a non-successful person is not how much discipline they have. It's how quickly can they get their ass back up off the ground after having a bad day. Because everybody has bad days. It's choosing to stop letting one wrong choice turn into an entire week or month of bad choices. And that's how momentum starts, whether it's for the negative or for the positive. And on that note, the scary part is that momentum can pull you into the wrong direction too, right? Momentum is not always a good thing. If every night you come home after a stressful day, you sit on your couch, scroll on your phone, eat a bunch of junk, and avoid all the things that you know you should be doing, then that simply becomes your routine. You're training your mind to keep doing that. And the next day, it feels even more normal. Then a week goes by, a month goes by, then you start telling yourself, you know what? This is just who I am. I don't have discipline. I'm just someone who always falls off. I can't stick to anything. But the truth is, you practiced that identity. That is simply the identity that you cultivated for yourself across time with the habits that you chose to act on, right? You practiced being the guy who breaks promises to himself. Not because you're broken, not because you're helpless, because there's something wrong with you, but because simply the actions that you repeated across the last few months, few years, or whatever the case, became the standard that you started accepting. And that is why you have to be careful with the habits that you choose to repeat. The opposite is also true. This is the good news. If today you tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to go on one 20-minute walk at 3 p.m. or after work, and then you actually do it, you actually go on that 20-minute walk, something changes. Not physically overnight. You're not going to drop 40 pounds just because you went on one walk. You're not going to just wake up shredded. But mentally, you just gave yourself evidence, proof. You told yourself you were going to do something positive for yourself, and you did it. And that matters because now your brain is starting to learn slowly. You know what? I do follow through. I do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm not the guy who's going to keep folding every single time things get slightly uncomfortable. Then tomorrow, it becomes a little bit easier to do it again. And if you do it again tomorrow, then the next day gets even easier. And that's how you build self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of real confidence, right? Confidence isn't just something, again, that people are born with. It's something that people build up to through daily habits and actions. And this is why the all or nothing mentality destroys so many people. Like myself back before I lost 100 pounds, and I couldn't seem to lose the weight because I thought there was something wrong with me. So a guy will be eating poorly, not walking, not training, sleeping like crap, and feeling really bad about himself. And then one day, he has this burst of motivation after watching a David Goggins video, and he decides, you know what? On Monday, I'm going to change everything. So then he goes from 0 to perfect overnight. No junk food, 0 junk food, no missed workouts, gym every single day, no eating out, no carbs. 2 hours in the gym, cardio every day, perfect meal prep. Changed his whole life overnight. But for a few days, it might work. He might have that motivation burst last 2 or 3 days, maybe even a week, right? But it is so extreme that it is almost impossible to actually maintain long term. Then once he messes up, this is the important part, once he messes up, he doesn't just think, okay, let me just get back on track. Most of the time he thinks, you know what? See, I knew I couldn't do this. And then he goes right back to the old pattern, right back to his old lifestyle, right? Back from 100 to 0. That's the real danger. The failed extreme diet reinforces the identity that you are not someone who follows through on what you say you're going to do. But the problem was never the fact that fitness is impossible, that change is impossible. The problem is you tried to build discipline with a plan you can actually realistically repeat over a long period of time. So one thing I need you to realize is this: the only shortcut is the long way. And I know that sounds annoying. I know you don't really want to hear that, but it's simply the truth, right? Most people are thinking only one day in advance. What can I eat tonight to feel better right now? What can I do this week to lose weight as fast as possible right now? What is the fastest way to fix 4 years of bad habits? But if you actually want to change your body and your mind and your confidence and your discipline, you need to think months in advance, 6 months ahead, a year ahead, 10 years ahead. You have to stop asking, what makes me comfortable today, right now? And start asking, what can I do today to make the future version of me proud? That is delayed gratification. That is discipline in its core. And that is the difference between short-term confidence and long-term results. Right? So if you're overweight right now and struggling with discipline, I do not want you to try to fix your entire life today in one day. Take an honest look at your current habits, your current lifestyle, your current day in the life, and start with the lowest hanging fruit. What is one tiny thing that you could start doing today that you weren't doing yesterday? Not 10 things, right? Just one thing. Maybe it's going on a 20-minute walk today. Just step outside, take a walk. Maybe it's cooking one whole food focused meal, one healthy meal. Maybe it's hitting your protein goal today. Maybe it's simply drinking more water today. Or if you were in a very dark place like I used to be, it didn't even start with my diet or fitness or exercise. Maybe it's just starting by making your bed, brushing your teeth, cleaning your room, packing your lunch for work or for school or whatever the case. Or maybe just going to the gym and stepping on the treadmill and building up your confidence a little bit. The point is, it does not have to be a dramatic change overnight. It just has to be real. It just has to happen. The point is to prove to yourself that you refuse to fall short of the standard that you want to set for yourself. even if the standard is small at first. Because small standards, kept consistently, turn into a completely different identity over the months and years of you repeating those standards, repeating those habits. I'll tell you a quick story of how I personally helped build my own discipline. A couple years ago, like 5 years ago, when I was trying to lose the 130 pounds, when I was in the process of losing the weight, I did 3 months straight of freezing cold showers every single morning. I know that sounds crazy, but I would literally go in the shower, I would start hot, shower, and then crank it up or crank it down all the way as cold as it could go. And I wasn't doing it because I thought cold showers burned more fat. Obviously, that's not true. I wasn't doing it because I thought that it would magically turn me into David Goggins. I did it because I wanted to start my day off with something voluntarily uncomfortable. Something I genuinely did not want to do. Like, really did not want to do. And I still don't want to do it. I do not need to feel like doing hard things in order to do them, right? Sometimes motivation isn't always going to be there. You're not always going to feel like going on that walk or feel like eating that healthy meal. But voluntarily doing difficult things like taking a cold shower proves to yourself that, you know what? I can still do it anyways, even if I don't feel like it. And that matters because once you do something uncomfortable, first thing in the morning, it's like the first thing you do after waking up, it becomes easier to do the next uncomfortable thing later. It becomes easier to go to the gym and push out those last extra couple reps. It becomes easier to make better food choices that day. Easier to go on that walk even when you don't feel like it. It becomes easier to not fold the second that you want comfort. That's momentum. It's not magic. It's not motivation. It's just repeated habits, repeated evidence, repeatedly proving to yourself that you're going to keep doing hard things even though you don't necessarily feel like doing it. And the crazy thing is, those hard things do get easier, right? Not because they stop being hard immediately, but because you stop making them emotional decisions. By the end of those 3 months of me doing cold showers, it was still hard for me to go in there and do the cold shower. But if you compared the first day or the first week to the last week, at first I was like, oh God, poop, fuck, like shit. But then the last few days of me doing it, it was just like, all right, here we go again. Boom, boom, boom. All right, done. At that point, it wasn't even that hard. Like, yes, it was still super uncomfortable, but it just became a habit through trained practice, trained discipline, habits, all right? At first, taking that walk feels annoying, or cooking that healthy meal, it feels inconvenient. Going to the gym, it might feel intimidating. Saying no to the easy option, right, feels uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the less friction there is the next time you try to do it. And eventually, the thing that used to feel impossible becomes part of your normal day, part of your normal routine. And that is the goal, right? It's not to make every hard thing, every hard decision super easy to do overnight, but to become the kind of person who does hard things even when they are uncomfortable. That is the ultimate goal, right? Every single day, you are training your identity, whether you know it or not, through the actions that you take. And if you keep avoiding your responsibilities, you are training the identity of someone who avoids responsibilities. If you keep overeating or making bad food choices every time you're stressed, you are training the identity of someone who escapes their problems through food. If you keep saying, I'm going to start Monday, you are training the identity of someone who delays change. Right? But if you take one walk today, you are training the identity of someone who moves. Right? If you cook one healthy meal today, you are training the identity of someone who takes care of himself, who cares about their body. If you make your bed today, even if it's something that small, you are training the identity of someone who takes care of himself, who starts the day with a win. Because that's how you build momentum. If you follow through on one promise today, just one, you are training the identity of someone who keeps his or her word. And over time, that compounds, right? Those results don't show overnight. But across the next 3 months, those results will start to show. And it's the only way to get results if you want them to actually last long term. And that is how you change your identity in a positive direction, right? So here's the challenge for you this week. Today, not even this week, today. Just pick one promise that you're going to make for yourself today. Just one. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to overhaul and change your entire life. Just pick the lowest hanging fruit. One 20-minute walk. One Whole Foods focused meal cooked. Make your bed or brush your teeth. Clean your room. Track one day of eating. Go to the gym. Hit one 20-minute workout. Doesn't have to be 2 hours. Just get in there, move some weights around, and go home. Right? Whatever it is, pick one thing that you know you need to do that maybe you've been putting off and do it. Right? And when you do it, don't brush it off like it doesn't matter. It does matter. Reward yourself mentally. Pat yourself on the back. Physically go like, nice job. Let's do it again tomorrow. Because you just proved to yourself that you can follow through on what you say you're going to do. And then tomorrow, do it again. And that's how momentum starts. All right? Nobody is born with discipline. Nobody's born with self-control. You build it. All right? They did experiments on children, 5 years old. They gave them one marshmallow on a table, and they said, if you can wait 15 minutes, I will give you 2 marshmallows. If you could just wait 15 minutes and don't eat that marshmallow, I'll give you 2 when I come back. 100% of those kids ate the marshmallow before the researcher came back. They redid the study a few years later, once they've kind of taught them discipline, taught them healthy habits, taught them the art of delayed gratification, and way more of those children were able to wait the 15 minutes, or at least they were able to wait longer before they indulged on that marshmallow. What does this tell us? This tells us that nobody is born with innate self-control. Nobody is born with discipline. It is a habit that is trained. And that might be hard for you to hear because it requires making tough decisions every day. But it's actually the best thing you can hear because it proves that you too can change, right? David Goggins himself was never a disciplined person until he decided that he wanted to become one, right? You build it. You build it by practicing delayed gratification. You build it by doing uncomfortable things. You build it by keeping small promises that you make to yourself. You build it by choosing the future version of yourself over the comfortable version of yourself right now. So stop waiting until Monday. Stop trying to change everything at once. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Just pick one small thing, do it today, and then do it again tomorrow. Because the more you do it, the easier it becomes to do it again. And that is the law of momentum. And look, if you're overweight, struggling with discipline, and tired of starting over, and you want to move your life in a positive direction, but you feel like you need some help, you can DM me on Instagram at coach_Selly. That's coach_SELLY. I can help you figure out what's keeping you stuck and whether or not coaching makes sense for you. If not, totally fine. All I ask is that you take action and start building up some discipline because now you know that it's a skill that you can learn. It's not something that anyone's born with. So pick one small thing and accomplish that today and pat yourself on the back and do it again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.